The year was 1914, and Europe was a place of empires. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was one of the largest, a sprawling land full of diverse cultures, nationalities, and simmering tensions. And within this empire, one man, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, stood as the heir to the throne. But he was more than just royalty. He was a symbol of power, prestige, and, for some, everything wrong with the empire itself. On June 28, 1914, Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, traveled to Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, for a ceremonial visit. It was meant to be a grand affair, a show of unity and strength. But there was another side to the story. Bosnia had only recently been annexed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and there was resistance to this new rule, especially from Serbs who dreamed of a unified Slavic nation, free from Austrian control. In Sarajevo, a group of young Serbian nationalists plotted to send a message they believed would be heard across Europe. Among them was a young man named Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old with little to lose and a fierce hatred of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. To him and his comrades, Franz Ferdinand was not just a man. He was an obstacle, standing in the way of their freedom. As the Archduke's car made its way through the crowded streets of Sarajevo, the group prepared to strike. The first attempt came from a conspirator named Nedeljko Kabranovic, who threw a hand grenade at the Archduke's car. But fate had other plans that day. The grenade bounced off the car and exploded behind it, injuring several bystanders but leaving the Archduke and his wife unharmed. Franz Ferdinand was furious, but he insisted on continuing with his day's plans. He was determined to visit those who had been injured in the attack at the hospital, a gesture of goodwill perhaps, or maybe sheer stubbornness. In a twist of fate, the driver, confused by the original route, took a wrong turn, stopping right in front of a small cafe. And who should be there, by sheer coincidence, but Gavrilo Princip, still reeling from the failure of their earlier attack. He could hardly believe his eyes. There, in front of him, was his target, Franz Ferdinand himself, just a few feet away. Without hesitation, Princip pulled out his pistol and fired 2 shots. The first bullet struck Sophie, and she collapsed immediately. The second bullet hit Franz Ferdinand in the neck. As blood began to pour, the Archduke is said to have murmured to his wife, "Sophie, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children." But it was too late. Within moments, both of them lay dead in that car, the life ebbing away from 2 people whose deaths would soon change the course of history. What followed was a ripple effect, an unstoppable series of events that the world would come to know as the First World War. The assassination shocked Austria-Hungary to its core. It demanded answers, and it demanded retribution. The empire accused Serbia of orchestrating the attack and issued an ultimatum, a list of demands so severe it was practically designed to be rejected. The rest of Europe watched with bated breath. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the alliances that had long been simmering came to life. Russia, bound by its ties to Serbia, mobilized its forces. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, saw this as a threat and declared war on Russia. And so it continued, like dominoes falling in rapid succession. Within weeks, Europe was engulfed in a conflict unlike anything the world had ever seen. Millions of young men were sent to the front lines. Nations poured every resource they had into the war effort, draining treasuries, exhausting supplies, and, in some cases, sacrificing entire generations. World War I reshaped the globe, shattering empires and redrawing borders. The Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed, giving rise to new nations in Central and Eastern Europe. Russia was rocked by revolution, and the Romanov dynasty was swept away, replaced by a new Soviet regime. In Germany, defeat and hardship would pave the way for the rise of an embittered nationalist named Adolf Hitler, who would, just 2 decades later, plunge the world into yet another, even more devastating conflict. It's staggering to think that all of this, the entire course of the 20th century, was set in motion by the actions of a single, determined young man on a quiet Sarajevo street. Gavrilo Princip never lived to see the world he'd helped create. He died in prison just a few years later, frail and sick from his imprisonment. But his actions had left a mark on history, a mark that would never be erased. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was more than just a tragic event. It was the spark that lit the fuse, setting off a chain of events that would reshape the world. A single moment, a single bullet, that shattered an empire and changed the course of history forever. If you enjoyed this dive into history and want to hear more about other events that shaped our world, Don't forget to like and subscribe to Beyond Yesterday. Your support helps us bring more incredible stories from the past to life. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is closer to us than we think. See you in the next video.